Hey, Don Williams here with today's episode of the Proven Entrepreneur Show, the show where proven entrepreneurs share their story to help you learn and improve in your own entrepreneurial journey. Our guest today, I am so excited, is Matt McLean of Uncle Matt's Organic. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, Don, thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's my distinct honor. So happy to have you. I think you're one of the pioneers in organic foods. And I'm reminded, I have a little sister who, she was buying organic. We're coming up to Thanksgiving. This will air probably a little after Thanksgiving. She was buying organic turkeys
Hmm.
35 years ago when they were hard to find.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and now, pretty common. We've learned the wisdom of eating clean food that doesn't have a long list of ingredients.
Right.
Eating food that is the ingredient. Yeah,
That's
that's it.
right. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
So,
Well, she
um,
she was way ahead of her time 35 years ago.
yes, she was, and her older brother, I'm embarrassed to say, kind of poo-pooed her on her choices. And as is often the case in my life, the women are generally right, and if I disagree, I'm just not. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about um, the business you're in now, how long
Hmm.
you've been in business, what do you sell, who do you sell it to, how do you sell it? Tell us about Matt's Organic.
Yeah, thank you. So, we were founded in June of 1999. This year, we're celebrating 25 years in business. Kind of hard to believe about that. Big
Congratulations.
accomplishment. Yep. So we're kind of one of those organic pioneers. Have been. We were actually organic before the USDA organic seal came out in 2002. So we were farming organic for a while, but we have become America's number one selling organic orange juice brand and grapefruit juice nationwide. From a little tiny beginning here in Clermont, Florida, which is just west of Orlando. Used to be surrounded by citrus. Now we're more surrounded by homes. But we started with 3 acres in my dad's backyard. We turned it organic. From there, we have grown to over 15,000 doors nationwide. You can find us Publix, Kroger, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Walmart, a lot of different doors. You can find us from Hawaii to Alaska to Maine to even down in Puerto Rico. So we're come a long way from business, but we still feel like that little challenger brand. We compete every day against Tropicana and Simply, kind of Coke and Pepsi, the two biggest beverage brands in the world.
Uh-huh.
So while we've come a long way, we still have a long ways to go as we get more penetration with households and in the market.
Well, but love that David and Goliath aspect because, your competitors are like mammoth, huge, ginormous, like big, big, big.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much unlimited resources that you're going up against, but it does give you the David Goliath every day, which is fun to for that analogy because we do feel that way, and we're more nimble than Goliath, and we hope to beat them in different places and spaces.
I was getting ready to say, and David did prevail. You
He did, so
just
we
saying.
we have that. That's definitely the heart
Yeah,
of David.
David did prevail. Okay, I'm going to take you all the way back to little Matt McLean. Okay, so like you're 5 years old,
Got it.
no more than 15. You're in your family home, and what we want to know is,
Mhm.
was there an adult who set an entrepreneurial example at your kitchen table?
Yeah, I mean, my father, he had his own business. He had his own grove caretaking business, and he owned his own citrus groves. And so he was a citrus consultant. He also went out. They had a harvesting company and a caretaking company. So he was the entrepreneur. He was his own boss for a long time. It wasn't always that way, but he was the entrepreneur in the family.
Awesome. So you overheard some of those conversations at the kitchen table about payroll and employees and customers and operations and marketing and all that stuff. You grew up with it.
Absolutely. And then also was plugged into being one of those employees. And I joked for the longest time at Uncle Matt's, I was the employee he never paid, and then he'll joke, well, that was room and board was free, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, tell me, was your first job working for your father, or did you actually work someplace else where you turned in your effort and received a check?
Yeah. So, I mean, in junior high and high school, I started when I remember 8 years old, helping however I can out in the groves with dad and his consulting clients and business. And it was great. While it was hard work, it definitely taught you how to persevere and the credit you get for a hard day's work. And then later, as I became, you know, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I then ran a little crew for him. And so I also learned leadership skills, how to lead other young men, how to be, responsible, and all the things that go along with, being your own small boss and leading team members. So those were key things for me growing up that I was taught by my dad with just entrepreneurship skills. And then I went off to college. I was ready to get out of the hot Florida sun and try to do more on the business side. And so I got a degree in business administration with a specialty in finance and a minor in economics. And then from there, I was ready to get out of agriculture. I didn't take any ag classes at all, and it was no ill will towards my upbringing. I just felt a calling to do something better than drive the tractor out in the grove.
Yeah. So funny you say drive the tractor. My grandfather was a wheat farmer in
Hmm.
Kansas, and my first paying job was driving a John Deere tractor at wheat harvest. And I think I was 11. I don't think they probably let 11-year-olds do that today, but it was a different
Yeah,
world back then. And,
correct. Yep.
um, and so they didn't think anything of it. Sit your butt on that tractor and drive it until you get done with the field. Um,
I mowed a lot of groves with a little case tractor and a 5 foot bush hog behind me, and I, did 2 passes per metal. I mowed hundreds and hundreds of acres on that little joker with a 5 foot bush hog mower.
Yeah, there you go. And so, I look back at that. I didn't look fondly on it at the time, but I look back at it fondly now. I learned some really good lessons. I learned what hard work really was.
Hmm.
Um, that and digging fence post holes by hand for
Oh,
barbed wire fence.
oh
Um,
yeah.
I learned what hard work was. I learned that while I loved to be outside, I did not want to be in agriculture, and
Hmm.
it pulled you back. It did not pull me back, and um, so that's awesome. Okay, so after your childhood at home, you went off to university or college. Where did you go?
Yeah, so I went right up the road. The land grant university in Florida is the University of Florida. My granddad, my dad, my mom, my brother-in-law, they were all Gators. And so University of Florida was kind of the path that I went to. I grew up a Gator. Go Gators if you're a Gator listening. And like I said, at that point, I decided I was going to get a degree in business. I actually started off like everybody. It was either pre-law or pre-med. Boy, I was what makes the most money? Oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to be. And it didn't take long to realize I may not be cut out for pre-med or pre-law. It was biology or chemistry. I just realized like that's not going to be my specialty. So God had a different plan that pushed me out of being a doctor or lawyer, and it really was business. Yeah, I loved business growing up, and when I started studying business, it really resonated with me, and from there, the rest is kind of history. When I got out of college to stay in business and start my own business.
Yeah, awesome. So when you graduated as a Gator,
Hmm.
did you take a job, or did you immediately put that business degree to work
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I graduated and I had a couple opportunities. I actually didn't think I would get back into agriculture and kind of the family business. I still had that goal of, charting my own course, and I had some opportunities in sales. Went and applied for one business job that sold business forms and stuff, and it was a territory sales manager. Another was computer software, and I got offered one of the jobs and kind of went back and forth. Boy, do I want to do that and move to Jacksonville. And at the same time, and something just didn't feel right. Like it didn't really, there was no necessarily passion about it. It didn't like, okay, yeah, I could sell that. And at the same time, I had an opportunity with my father. He introduced me to one of his growers who was a client of his who was German. And this gentleman said, hey, I'm really looking for somebody to help me. I want to import Florida orange juice and grapefruit juice. I have friends in Germany that own bottling plants. And if somebody can help me go around Florida and find great tasting juice and help me buy it, we'll ship it to Europe and I can sell it to my friends there in Germany. And I think there's a whole lot more opportunity besides just the handful of bottlers that he knew. And I said, well, geez, let's see. Okay. Start my own little business, go around the juice plants, and I get to travel to Europe. I'm in. Okay, sure. Yeah. So that off I went. I started a little import export business and went around to the 35 different juice plants in Florida. And we found, conventional orange juice and grapefruit juice, and we shipped it over to Holland, to their port of Vlissingen. And from there, he imported it and took it to the different bottling companies in Germany and later in Europe. And then later, we did business in the Middle East. And so that's where I cut my teeth on juice quality, really knowing what makes great taste in orange juice by variety, Brix acid ratio, oil content, all of those things make up a good quality juice. And so I really learned from the French and the Germans over in Dubai, different taste profiles and what really was, what was a sweet juice, what was an acidic juice, the timing of the varieties, all of those things. And it also happened where my aha moment came. Like most entrepreneurs, they have that one, what is it that really gets you there? And I was doing fine. I had a juice brokerage business. I was making good money. I was self-employed. I got to travel abroad. Life was good for me right out of the gate. Until I found I got introduced to one German customer, and he asked me about biologic. He said I need to find basically organic grapefruit juice, and I had no idea what that was. I said, "Sure, Mr. Noy, you're a great customer. If you want it, I'll go find it." And that set me down my whole Uncle Matt's organic journey, because I came back, and besides figuring out, where I could find organic grapefruit juice that I would get processed, put it in a drum and send to him, I needed to figure out, what was this market? What is even organic? And there was no organic Tropicana or Simply in the marketplace at that time. And this was probably 1996, 97. So for me, I thought, hey, trends usually come from the food industry. A lot of them will come across the pond from Europe into the U.S. And if this started to really take hold in Europe, this could be something in the U.S. But I knew nothing about CPG, consumer product goods. I knew nothing about, how do I get a Tropicana or Simply equivalent product onto the market shelf? I knew quality juice. And then at the same time, I didn't know, could I supply it long term? How could I scale this business? And luckily for me, my granddad was still alive. And they're the agronomists. My dad, my brother, my granddad, they were the real agronomists in the family. They were the growers. I went to school for business and was on the other side of the growing. And so I went to my dad and granddad at that time and really asked them about organic farming and, is this viable? Is this something that we could scale? What is the long-term potential in Florida? And my granddad, he was offended and chuckled and said, I'm old enough to remember, buddy, we did this before pesticides were invented after World War II. And we planted cover crops. We put down compost. We did all kinds of different things, and nobody called it organic, but it was organic farming. And it was really at that point in his life, this was at the end of my grandfather's life, he just said, this is really how we should go back to farming. A lot of those methods were not ever disproven. They were just displaced by new technologies that came out, ammonium nitrate and urea, some of those other synthetic fertilizers that people fell in love with. And then the university started recommending them because they got a lot of money and funding to do research on it. And so he got excited, which then excited me and gave me a passion. It made sense from my standpoint that, hey, okay, I don't need to spray a lot of pesticides to do organic. It's not allowed, number one. And those things, if you just look at the label, they have skull and crossbones on them. And it just was very common sense for me, simplistically going, well, if I can do it without the skull and crossbone, that would be a better way for the environment. That would be better if I was to consume it. I would have less chance of having any of that on the product. And so off I went, young and dumb, at a very young age of 27. Figured out after a couple years, how do I come up with a CPG brand? What do I call it? And how do I do this? And I launched Uncle Matt's in June of 99.
Thrilling story, a couple accidental twists and turns,
Yes.
but you were open-minded enough to say,
Mm-hmm.
yes, if
Yep.
that's what you want to buy, I'm going to find it. And I'm a big believer that all progress starts with a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Catastrophe is sometimes avoided with a no, but
Yeah.
progress requires a yes.
Right.
And we're all in the business of serving clients, and so the
Mm-hmm.
client wants this, and I'm going to help find it. And interesting, my grandfather, who I said was a wheat farmer, they used ammonium nitrate,
Yep.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And today in that area, he has since passed, but today in that area of Kansas, many of the farmers only spot fertilize, literally use GPS in the tractor and and mark spots where they will
Mm-hmm.
fertilize, and almost all have gone to no-till, where
Yep. So
back in
regenerative. Yep.
yeah
Regenerative practice. No
yeah
till.
back in the day, I
Mm-hmm.
was disking the field an hour after the combine had cut the crop. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, literally the day of harvest, we're
Mm-hmm.
flipping the ground back over, and
Yeah.
now they don't flip it over at all.
Yeah.
And those little stalks act like straws for the rain, to where the rain goes subterranean instead of sitting on top,
Yeah.
partially anyway. So,
Huh.
so great. Okay, so that's kind of how you got started.
Right.
Okay, but today Uncle Matt's is a pretty big company. Yes.
Yes, we are. Yep. Good size. I mean, we're no longer the small little entrepreneurship company. We're the next step. We're now doing our own manufacturing. So we have our own bottling facility. I think we have, I don't know, total 75, almost 80 employees, which is a good size, and
Yeah.
producing a lot of product to feed a lot of people nationwide.
Yeah, love that. So we kind of got the launch. Tell us a couple of steps in how you scaled
Mhm.
to selling organic juice, get coast to coast, and
Yep.
kind of top to bottom, Alaska to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was a lot of hustle, a lot of heart and hustle, trying to find the right connections that really could help me prioritize which accounts that I should even go into, because organic is not for every account, and it especially wasn't in the beginning because it was higher priced. People didn't know what organic was, so you had to be pretty particular. We started with, local high-end grocery store chain called Goodings, and a local chain of health food stores called Chamberlain's. And between those two, I had, that and some other natural food stores made enough business for me to get into business and get going. And then from there, it was hiring a good broker rep who acted as my sales team because I was a one-man band. And so they would take our product and go sample it to a lot of different stores up and down the East Coast. And then I would add another distributor here or there that would call on those new chains and accounts. And so I just organically built the business store by store, state by state, until you get some big accounts. And so, like Publix, they called me after 2 years of knocking on that door. They called me on 9/11. The first tower had just fallen, and I was a little bit in shock. And I had called on Publix for 2 years, and the last time I went in on the sales pitch with 3 generations of McLeans. It was myself, my dad, my granddad. and we sat in front of that buyer, Raul Garcia, super nice guy. All the harassing I did of him, he probably should have put me in jail because I was always, calling him and, hey, Raul, I'd love to tell you something. And he was so professional and polite and just a great, humble guy, that he just said, hey, you need to be patient. When the review period comes, don't worry. I'm going to let you know and you'll get a chance. Okay, great. So I went in there with 3 generations, sat in front of him, and, it obviously we finally got our chance. And so when the review was finished, he called me, and it just so happened to be, that was the day he was calling everybody to tell them if they got in the set. And he said, hey, Matt, this is Raul Garcia. And I remember I answered the phone. I only had one employee, and unfortunately, she was from New York City, and she had some friends that potentially were in one of the towers. And so she was very distraught. And I said, hey, you need to go home. I'm really sorry. Pray for, favor up there and that nobody in your family close to you was hurt. And so I literally answered the phone like, Uncle Matt, how can I help you? Raul Garcia. Oh, hey, Raul. Yeah. He said, on a really bad day, Matt, I'm going to give you some really good news. We're bringing you in. And, she's like, I'm not sure how to feel here. Really, it is a really bad day. And this is really good news because I knew it was the next level for my company. At that time, Publix had about 1,000 stores, maybe like 900. And that was just a big day. It completely, tripled my distribution and store count, took me to the next level of, scale and capabilities and just legitimate in the eyes of consumers, household penetration. And so that was the next plateau. And then after that, I remember I got the call from Kroger in like 2005, and then like 2009 was Whole Foods nationwide. And, they just kept building momentum. And before you know it, you're nationwide. And you're in, a lot of stores and a lot of doors. And that was my big aha one moment there with Publix and breaking through to the next level of becoming a real brand and a real presence.
Well, I love that. And a couple of principles that you shared. One, when you have the grocery rep, he's going out, he or she, they're going out and asking people to buy.
Yep.
And one of the things I tell everybody is if you're not selling as much as you want to sell, ask more people to buy every day.
Correct.
Every day, ask more people to buy.
Yep.
And then with Raul Garcia, sounds to me like you had become quite acquainted before that fateful day.
Yeah.
And to where he knew you and knew your voice when you answered the phone.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Persistence.
I was very persistent. I was all heart and hustle, but respectfully persistent, right? There's if you're not respectful, that's not going to work. You're going to annoy the people and the buyer, and they're going to, say no thank you to you.
Absolutely. Okay, so think back over your career, and what I want to look for here is a hard moment.
Mm-hmm.
So something happens, and when it happened, it's like, ugh, man, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in retrospect, looking backwards, maybe it was a positive,
Sure.
but sometimes at the moment they don't feel very positive. They feel really negative and ouch. Do you have a hard lesson, a hard moment you can share?
Oh yeah, I mean, and every entrepreneur. I mean, let's see, what time is it today? Give it a little bit more time. There'll be another hard moment. It's just business, right? You ride the waves, highs and lows. The biggest thing for us was when citrus greening disease showed up in Florida in a big way, and that is it doesn't affect humans. It's this bacterial infection just infects the tree, and it clogs up the main artery of the tree, and it's spread by a little psyllid, which is an insect. It bites the leaf, and it transmits this disease in the fruit into the tree, and so the tree then eventually dies, becomes non-productive. The fruit never gets ripe, hence the term greening. It stays green. So from our standpoint, Uncle Matt's started in June of 1999. 2002, we formed another company for fresh fruit, and we began growing a lot of our. We grow all of our own citrus. So we started our own supply base. We converted over 35 different growers, over 1,500 acres. My dad and brother, the agronomist, were taking care of all of it. We had our own separate company for caretaking of, our own tractors and mowers and everything that was needed to take care of the grove organically. We had our own, IP for our farm plan of what really was the right cover crop to grow and what kind of compost and sprays and all that. And we had institutional money lined up to help expand and buy more groves. 600 acres we owned of the 1,500. We had private equity money to help grow our brand. So we had it all lined up to be this perfect long-term juice and fresh fruit stalwart. And then the little bug shows up, and our groves start dying, and our production starts going down, and growers no longer can make money when they don't have fruit to produce. And then on the flip side of that, our product doesn't taste as good. So now I have two problems. I have our growers their trees are sick and dying. I have our product that doesn't taste as good, and consumers are complaining. And I have a big come to Jesus meeting with myself of, wow, this could literally be it. Like, Elizabeth, this is the big one, as Fred Sanford would say. This could be it for my company. We had a lot of debt that would come of that, but we had to pivot, and we had to pivot pretty fast. And luckily, our reputation and our integrity, we were able to find other suppliers in Texas and Mexico that had asked for a long time, hey, we know you're competitors with us, but if you ever need additional product, we have it. And so we had to start pivoting quickly to bring in from these other locations. And I was the proudest fourth generation Florida citrus grower that you've ever met. And it was, on our label, all Florida forever. And you'll never, see me, wave another flag. And I had to, quickly pivot and realize that, this could be the death blow for our company if we don't change. And so that's what we did. We developed really a lot more friendships in Texas, in California, East Coast of Mexico, and now globally. We have other relationships developing in other countries to help with high quality supply. And so that was the biggest, is as that then unraveled in Florida. Today we have 3 growers left, 75 acres in Florida, and it's all for research and development to try and find a cure for greening. So a completely different model than what we had up until 2015. So up until 2015, everything that went into Uncle Matt's, I had a hand on, and we grew it, and we had control of it, and we had to pivot. And the whole industry in Florida has to pivot. Even Florida's Natural, the largest co-op, is now product of other locations because they suffered the same fate as we did. So that was the biggest moment of almost death and destruction and defeat, but a lot of prayer. The little slogan is "Pray and do not lose hope," and that's what I live by, and I'm a living proof of it. I'm always hopeful. So there you go.
Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing. It reminds me of something Zig used to say: "Be firm on principle and flexible on method."
There you
And
go. Yep.
sometimes that pivot, you just have to see things a little differently. Put on your other eyeglasses and
Mm-hmm.
put on those rose-colored glasses and see if you can find a rose somewhere.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like you did that.
We
So
did.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay, what about a warp speed moment? Things are going pretty good, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh,
Yep.
we've unbelievably grown the company.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a moment like that you can share?
Yeah, we got to a point where we sold the company. So we got to 2017, and as a family decided we were going to get our minority partner out, the private equity group. It was time for them to exit. And when we started looking at the opportunities, nobody wanted to just replace a minority investor. They wanted to buy the company. And so we kind of weighed the options of, okay, take on a lot of debt, or is it a good time to exit? And we just come through this citrus greening debacle, and boy, that was a scary time. So we decided to exit. My wife and I stayed on with Dean Foods. They were the largest dairy company in the U.S., a dairy conglomerate. $8 billion with a B. What do they have? 70,000 employees, 60 or 70 plus plants, 6,000 trucks every day. DSD milk is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And I stayed on, my wife and I, to help continue to run the company, be a good steward of the brand. And in November of 2019, they filed bankruptcy. I would have never, ever guessed that that company that large, that big, that strong, they had too much debt, and dairy was dying. Plant-based milks were rising. They were just they couldn't close their plants fast enough. Capacity was gone, and they went bankrupt. And so I'm sitting there at the beginning of the pandemic going, ooh, maybe I should buy this back. And then at the same time, I'm like, that's kind of a crazy idea, because the country is like in turmoil, the globe's in turmoil. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. But we decided, a lot of good prayer on it. And, no, I really still love Uncle Matt's. It's my passion. And I got a chance to buy it back. So let's go buy it back. And so that's what we did. And then from there, since, June of 2020, here we are, 2024, and we've way more than doubled the business. We've had some real hyper growth. The pandemic pivoted a lot of people back to just health and wellness. What am I putting in my body? Vitamin C was really big. C, D, and zinc were huge. Kind of the natural the supplementation to fight COVID and to stay healthy. We introduced a new product right as soon as I bought it back. We quickly pivoted and brought out a product called Ultimate Immune. We took orange juice. We added elderberry, which is known to fight colds and flus, and then we boosted it to 300% vitamin C with acerola, the high antioxidant fruit, and boosted the D and the zinc. And so we kind of had our own little Covinator in a bottle, and it tastes fantastic. And so that had rapid growth. Today, it's still one of our top selling items, even though the pandemic is long gone, because it's just a great tasting beverage with health and wellness. So that would be my interesting rocket ship time. There were many other times where, like when Publix came on, or Kroger, or Whole Foods, where you got that great jolt of 1,000 to 2,000 new doors. But, the pandemic story and buying it back, and then, having to rehire your team, and all of the unknowns around the pandemic. But then it really rewarded our risk, because we've done a great job with the new team.
What a great case study in entrepreneurship. I'm presuming you sold here. You bought somewhere south of that.
Bought at bankruptcy. Yeah, bought out a bankruptcy price for basically the cost of the assets, the juice that was on in inventory.
And then doubled the company.
More than doubled, or a good bit more than double the company. So we're in a good spot. And now we're self-manufacturing. So as of a year ago, we co-packed for the whole life of me. We had co-packers around up and down the East Coast and the Midwest, that we would send our juice to and our formulas, and they would bottle for us, and then we would sell it. So, now we're at the position where we have brought it all internal. We're in control of all of our own quality. We have our own facility where we bottle with new state-of-the-art equipment, which allows us to be much more nimble and creative and innovative, and has led us even into the path of doing organic, cold chain, fresh brewed tea, which is fun. And so we're throwing our hat in a couple different rings to see, why we have that competitive advantage of being in Texas, in the middle of the country, and doing our own thing. Are there some other things that our brand could, other places and spaces that we could play in?
I think you just like being David. Okay.
You may be right.
I think you just like it. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to tea. There's only a couple little guys in tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, maybe I just like to be challenged, right? I think you may have hit on something there.
it could be, and in a way, I mean, the thought that's running through my head is Matt's the Steve Jobs of citrus.
I don't know about that. That's he's a whole lot more successful than I am, for sure.
Well, forget the zeros, maybe, but sold most Apple, had to buy it back.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
and so So
it's a fun comparison. Yes, I totally
there's
get
a
the business.
parallel. I'm just saying there's a
Correct.
parallel.
Yes.
Okay, probably toughest question I'm going to ask.
Mhm.
No, the toughest question. I'm going to put you in a time machine.
Yep.
I'm going to send you all the way back to 20-year-old Matt, who's probably
Mhm.
a sophomore at the
Yep.
University of Florida.
Mhm.
You get about 60 seconds to share something you know now, you didn't
Mhm.
know then,
Mhm.
but would have been positive for you to know then.
Mhm.
Okay. That you've
Yeah.
learned on your entrepreneurial and your proven entrepreneurial path.
Yeah.
Okay. So there it's set up. Can send you back, 20-year-old Matt. You get about 60 seconds. You're in the time machine. Meet
Yep.
Matt.
Haha.
What do you got?
Huh. So let's see. I probably, or no, undoubtedly would say, marry your wife sooner. Don't take 3 years to date and marry the woman of your dreams. That is your complete, perfect match and business partner in life. Couldn't have done it any better. Should have done it sooner.
I love that. You may or may not know this. I wrote a book 5 or 6 years ago titled "Romancing Your Customer," and
Mhm.
it parallels the customer journey to the romantic journey.
Yeah.
And all the time I have people saying, "Would you write it the other way? Now come out with the sequel to romancing your spouse, life partner, whatever, and turn it around." Because
Yeah.
I think many times non-entrepreneurs view entrepreneurs and say, well, they're all about the money, they're all about business. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that there's not a piece of that, but truthfully, we're all people first and family members second, and we're
Mhm.
business owners third. And that's
Yeah.
almost universal.
Yep.
I'm fortunate to have clients all over the globe, and it doesn't make any difference if it's in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia,
Wow.
or Lahore, Pakistan.
Mhm.
That's still the deal. We're
Mhm.
people first,
Yep.
family members second, and then we're
Yeah.
business owners third.
Yep.
So, Matt,
Agreed.
how can we, as the proven entrepreneur tribe, how can we reach you? How can we support you? Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so if what you heard today compels you, which I hope it would do, you can go to Matt, or you can go to unclemats.com, www.unclemats.com. Click on our product locator page and enter your zip code, and you will find a retailer near you that has our products. Go to that store and buy it, and let me know how you like it. And hopefully, if you do, tell a friend. That's the best way to help us is buy it and tell a friend about it.
Awesome. Now, you also have you have the retail distribution
Yes.
model, but
Yep.
I think you have a subscription model also, yes?
We do. So if you go there and you don't find a store locally that carries what you want, you can order us online and it'll go directly to you as well. It's going to be more expensive because it's perishable and overnight. So we always say if you can find it local, get it there. But yes, we also have a subscription model. We can ship to anywhere in the U.S. to get it to you. And some of those items, like our little 2 ounce shots or our juice boxes, aren't near as prolific out there in the marketplace as our 52 ounce orange juice. So we have a lot of different items, and would encourage you to go on, shop around, take a look. We'll have some Black Friday sales coming up, and then holiday sales as well.
I love that. And that's a couple great examples of romancing your customer. One, Matt's romancing his retail distribution points. Hey, if you can find it there, go buy it there.
Yep. Hmm.
Okay. And then romancing the end user. Hey, if you can't buy it there, we can deliver it overnight. It's perishable. It's a very,
Yep.
very high quality product.
Yep.
Costs a little more, but
Yep.
people will pay for quality. And
Yep.
so love those examples. So Matt, such a pleasure for me to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Don.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, likewise. I always enjoy meeting people that have the same kind of passion that I do. And I can tell you have that for helping entrepreneurs. And the small business is the engine of America. And so keep helping that small engine grow.
I agree. Of America and literally the world.
Correct.
When
Correct.
our economy is strong, other economies are strong. And
Yep.
when we catch a cold, and sometimes people don't realize this, but when we catch a cold economically,
Hmm.
other countries sometimes catch pneumonia.
Yeah,
Um, and
absolutely.
right or wrong, it's just the way it is. So
Correct.
um, I'm so grateful. And so, folks, that's today's episode of the Proven Entrepreneur Show. Go to unclemats.com, find a store, drink some good organic citrus juice. If you can't find it, just go to the website and order it.
Correct. Don, thank
Okay.
you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of the Proven Entrepreneur Show.